Hi, it's Sean McCann from Stan James. Welcome to the preview of the midweek footy. First of all, Cheltenham last week. The great thing about me at Cheltenham, I not only did I lose at Cheltenham, I lost. I took my consistent form through to Uttoxeter, where back Lavenshaw. It was a nearly week for me, but the bottom line is I had a bad week at Cheltenham, and well, I know many people did. It was a chasing experience, but anyway, I know the number of people who come up to me and said they've won. And good luck to those who did win, but I'm afraid I found the winner finding very difficult. But anyway, on to the midweek footy, and we start at Upton Park this evening. And when you think West Ham, I'm not saying they gave the game against Arsenal up, certainly didn't, of course, when they got that penalty late in the first half. But I think it's fair to say Carlton Cole, if it would have been an FA Cup final, or indeed Wolves at home, would have played in that game, and I think Scotty Parker probably would as well. They got these two home games in the back of Franco Zola's mind, that they had Stoke on Saturday and Wolves this evening, and I think they will be looking for a minimum of 4 points. I don't think West Ham are that bad, and I think credit to Wolves again for coming out 1 goal up and then 2-1 down, and that shows the resilience and fortitude of Mick McCarthy's side, but they are limited, and I think West Ham will take that, and I think 5-6 is a pretty decent price. Just going on the Premier League for the first time, United now odds on 10-11 tips on for the Premier League. Chelsea and Arsenal 5-2. United are at Bolton on Saturday, and they don't have a great record there. I remember certainly a couple of years ago they were beaten 1-0, and Chelsea have got Pompey tomorrow night, and then Villa at home, and I think they'll beat Villa in the form Villa are in at present. In Arsenal 5-2. Arsenal now have got Blues away, and that is one of the most difficult games. I think the way Blues sets up might be actually more difficult than Spurs away. Spurs will play Arsenal a football match. It's the only way I think Harry and the Spurs team can play, and I think Blues will be more of a war of attrition. Interesting, Bentner back at his old stomping ground, and I know Steve Bruce thinks that Bentner, when he had him at Birmingham, thought he was going to be a star. Spurs 8-13 should get through into the semi-finals of the FA Cup, and tomorrow night's home replay with Fulham 13-5. The draw, Fulham 5-1. Every time you write off Fulham, what a wonderful victory against Juve. They were a bit lucky, of course, some of the goals, but just typical of Fulham. They then, of course, were beaten. They must have been, still on cloud nine when they got beaten by Manchester City, and two really good goals by Manchester City. Certainly the Tevez goal, maybe Rocky Santa Cruz's first goal, I think, for the club. But Spurs 8-13. They've got a bit of an injury crisis, of course. But Palios, of course, Harry said he had to leave him out because of a booking threat he's on 9 bookings, threat of a 2-match ban. Couldn't afford it. Interesting that maybe Harry thinks that the FA Cup is his biggest chance of silverware this season. Well, sorry, it obviously is, but I'm just thinking rather than maybe the FA Cup, and rather than maybe finishing 4th in the league, Man City odds-on favourites for that now. Villa 4-7 against Sunderland, 11-2. The draw 11-4. Villa, remember this time last year they capitulated. They really were. Now I'm not saying they're doing that this year. They're in the semi-final of a cup. They obviously were. You could argue unlucky in the final of the Carling Cup, which just one decision changed the game, but they weren't in the same class as Manchester United. And 2-2 against Wolves on Saturday. Against the Sunderland side, 3-1 probably flattered them, but they were out the Rock of Gibraltar without. John Mensah played, but and this is one of the things I certainly wouldn't have a bet on Sunderland until I found out if Mensah was available. He went off, I think, in about 72 minutes, and Bruce blamed himself. He shouldn't have brought him off the field later. Lorenzana will come back in, but there's doubts also about Kenwyne Jones, who was so good in the first half against Manchester City, then went off, and also Darren Bent. So that Sunderland lineup, and Sunderland, of course, have got Liverpool on Sunday, so they've got two very difficult games. But under normal circumstances, if they had the first 11, and I think there's only Andy Reid who's not available in inverted commas for Sunderland, but just a couple of niggles, and Mensah has been absolutely fundamental in their mini revival at present. Just going on, City 5-6 against Everton, 130 Burlington, draw 5-2. I think City will probably shape. At Goodison, we gave them a good hiding, 2-0. We weren't as impressive. We haven't really been that impressive on the road. 2-2 draws at Arsenal and Birmingham, but we lost at Spurs. And I think City maybe be a bit too strong, powerful. Lescott, of course, out, so Lescott still hasn't met the Everton fans. Should we say Cahill still playing for Everton, and regular viewers will say, I just think he's more and more becoming a match of the day player. If he doesn't score, if you don't sort of follow Everton, you think Tim Cahill, there he is, 5'18", scored, Tim Cahill scoring one of the header. Yeah, but he can't pass water, and he got booked again on Saturday. He's not sort of, you have Everton are quite fluent now in the final, in the other opposition's half, and it often breaks down, I'm afraid, in Cahill being a wonderful, wonderful warrior for Everton, but I just think maybe he's past his sell-by date, and I wonder if David Moyes will have the gumption, the bottle, call it what you like, maybe to try and offload Cahill in the summer. Pompey 9-1 against Chelsea, 7-2 on Chelsea, 7-2 on. I'd certainly wouldn't back him at that price, but they really should have been too much for a Pompey side who just got back from the dead against a Lazarus-like performance against Hull Rovers. Fascinating game. This Rovers even money that Juve beating Paulo Ferreira at the far post. What's Paulo Ferreira doing it in Chelsea's first team at the moment? You know, again, who says there's no sentiment in football? I mean, he was a good player when he was in Portugal with Jose Mourinho, but since then he's been going steadily downhill, and I'm sorry, Juve shouldn't be beating me at the far post. Me, obviously, at 6'4", I probably could beat him, but I think an athlete like Paulo Ferreira should as well. Very disappointing that, and I think that point may come back, loss of 2 points may come back to haunt us. The trouble we've got, though, for the weekend, and let's hope this comes, is Swansea 15-8 at Blackpool. Like the look of the way. I mean, technically Mobley is very well coached by Paulo Sousa. Also Southampton 4-9 at home, and also West Ham at 5-6. But United, for the first time, they've gone odds on in the title. Chelsea must win 7-2 on at Fratton Park tomorrow night. Not for me, but they should win. Be lucky.